Hey y'all, so I kind of just want to talk about my relationship with my dad, overcoming my daddy issues, and how I really am getting to this space of healing. How I'm getting through the mourning of a relationship I never have, and just trying to overcome that. So, something that has been really helpful is me just understanding that my dad has always been his own person, a separate entity from me. His life decisions, the things he did, had nothing to do with me or my worth. They really weren't things that dictated who I was. And I took his actions personally. I took them so personal. And I realized it caused me to shrink myself in this world. And my experiences, coupled with my dad not being there, my experiences in life caused me to feel so low of myself. I allowed myself to start subscribing to false narratives. I didn't know them as false. I just thought my reality is my reality. I'm a loser, I'm lame, I'm fat, nobody wants me. Like that's how I would feel. And I'm like, if I was really worth something, my dad would have chosen me. Maybe if I were better, if whatever, my dad would have just picked me and everything would have been okay. I wouldn't be this person. I wouldn't be so rejected if he picked me. When the whole time, the reality was just that God loved me. And I didn't understand that until my adulthood, until now. I'll be 27 next month. And I'm finally understanding okay, hold on. I was subscribing to false narratives. And I pretty much put too much, I idolized my relationship with my dad. And I didn't see it as that. But I knew it was an idol. I know now that it was an idol because it caused me to be so broken. It caused me to make the wrong decisions. Instead of obeying God's word, instead of listening to God's truth about me, I subscribed to the truth about myself via the lens I was looking at my experiences through. I did not believe I was worthy because everything always went back to my dad. It always went back to this man didn't choose me. He's just like my dad. I was in relationships chasing after men, and that was the dynamic that I had with my dad. I would text my dad. I would say, "Hey, are you okay? You doing all right? How you feel? I love you. Just checking in. Just want to see what you're doing." I would call him. I would be the one pleading, "Can you like come into town? Like, can you do this? Like, are you gonna be there?" I was the one. And it made sense as to why I got into relationships and I became a woman who was desperate in chasing men because maybe I just felt like I needed their love to prove something. Like I needed to be picked by them too. Otherwise I wouldn't feel worthy. And if they didn't pick me, I felt like, dang, like my dad didn't pick me. Like the narrative continued to be proven to be true to me. And that's what just made sense. But as I started to come out of agreement with the falsehoods, I started to dive deeper into God's word a little bit more. And I said, okay, what does God say about me? Because I know one, the divine, the Most High, is not a liar. Not a liar. The entity that is love, the being that is love that radiates throughout me, that I'm a remnant of, he's not a liar. And he wouldn't lead me astray. God has always provided, whether that's tangible provision or it's intangible provision and giving me understanding. He's never failed me. He's not a liar. He's not a deceiver. Okay, let me not see him this way. And this is where I had an issue with my faith. For a long time, I had no faith in God. I said I did, but it wasn't. I was one of those. They say they draw near to me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. I was far from God because I was not in agreement with him. The minute I accepted God's word as truth, I feel like my whole internal world changed. My perspective changed because I stopped seeing myself as someone who was poor. I stopped seeing myself as a fat, unwanted, undesirable little girl. I stopped seeing myself as someone who nobody wants to listen to you. Nobody cares about what you have to say. You'll always be rejected. I stopped seeing myself that way. So, as I've started to accept God's truth as truth and really just allowing myself to be renewed in my mind, everything has changed for me. And while I don't really see the tangible changes within my mindset and the way that I operate in this world, I see the changes in that because I feel so loved. And I never thought I would get here without the love of my dad. And that sounds crazy, but it felt like the end of the world because my dad didn't love me. It felt like the end of the world because he didn't choose me. I spent years, even to this day, it still triggers me to see little girls with their dads because I'm like, dang, mine don't love me. He hasn't chosen me. But now I have the truth of God and I understand that it is truth and I respect it and honor it as truth. So when it comes to the lies that start to pop up, like, oh, you're unworthy, look at her with her dad, and she's happy and she'll always have a safe space. Look at you, you don't have a safe space. Your dad doesn't love you. You're unworthy. I'm like, nah, bro, because God said he knew me, he loved me, he created this whole plan for me. I'm loved. And now I wake up with so much gratitude in my heart. And I'm so happy. And I truly love life. And while my circumstances aren't favorable, I can say that I truly love God. I truly love just where I am. And I feel love. Like, that's the biggest thing. I feel love. There's not a day that I wake up and I don't feel loved. Whereas before, I woke up and I felt rejected and unwanted, and my spirit was broken. Now I'm like, nah, God, you really, you got that. He loves me. He loves me, and I can look back on my life and see the fruit that he loves me through everything he's carried me through everything he's allowed me to learn from, how his grace covered my sins and his love covered my sins. And while I won't go back to that place, I thank God he never gave me, not never, but oftentimes didn't give me what I wanted because it didn't make sense to me then. Now I see that you were really protecting me. When you start to see that God is really the father you never had, bro, it starts to really change your perspective on your daddy issues. It starts to expedite your healing process. Because I saw there were I would be so upset in dating because I'm like, I don't have, my dad is not here to vet these men. I have to vet these men myself, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm alone, and nobody's here, and I keep making these mistakes. And I look back on every bad relationship or even healthy relationship I've had and they just weren't the right person. Every single time God told me, every single time he told me, and I did what I wanted to do anyway. God has always been that father to me. And sometimes you have to look back on your life and reflect and say, hold on, God showed up in that, and he showed up and he showed up in that. And you see that he's been provider, he's been protector. When things that could have happened to you didn't, he's been provider. When you almost didn't have it and he made it happen, he's been a father to you. He really is a father to the fatherless. And until you change your perspective and come into agreement with his word, it's like you'll never know what that feels like. He gives his love freely, but it's up to us to accept it. And oftentimes it's like we don't want to accept it because we don't feel worthy of it. We don't feel like it's true. There's so many things. We're at war in our mind. The spiritual warfare that goes on is crazy because we feel rejected. But I'm hoping if you are struggling in your relationship with your dad or lack thereof, and you have these major daddy issues, I truly just want you to understand God can truly patch that and heal that. And it's complicated. It's a long process. But the more you surrender to the process, you allow yourself to be processed and allow yourself to go through the season. You're going to cry. You're going to be angry. You're going to have resentment, but allow God to wash away those negative emotions so that you can truly be free and in your mind and in your body and in your soul. I love you. Thank you.